Welcome to the Temple of Flame. On today, Faith Blacklights, we take a look at this. And what this is from Little Dick's, it is the Habanero peach. So I think a lot of us that review sauces, chili heads that make content for you here on the youtube.com, I think a lot of us sort of have it cross our minds. What if we had our own hot sauce line? And I know there's been some crossovers. Brian Ames, I know, has done some stuff with High Desert, and Katie, I think her name is, has done some stuff with Mikey B's, and the man known as Johnny Scoville has done some stuff with Blazing Foods. I think he actually has his own line outright, actually, with them. And there's been, vanity stuff over the years, but I've certainly indulged in the idea a little bit as well. And I'm not going to talk about the naming convention that I have come up with, that I've had for quite a while, just in case I ever decide that is something I want to pursue, which I don't know how likely that is, but I don't think I would ever use the phrase little in combination with dick, ever. So I think that's I assume, maybe it's the person's name who's making this. Maybe it's a attempt at being funny. I don't know. I would not use that though myself. All right, so got a sort of craft paper label here. Not quite. It's a little bit lighter than that, but so it starts with peaches and distilled vinegar, orange, habanero, pepper mash, salt, molasses, light brown sugar, cane sugar, mustard, distilled vinegar, #1 mustard seed, salt, turmeric, spices, kosher salt, paprika, garlic. I hate the way they're doing this label. This sucks. Cumin, black pepper, allspice, coriander, and ginger. So that's a lot of stuff. That is a lot of things to be throwing at one little baby sauce like this. And the suggestion here, at least intimation, is so we have a pepper and we have a peach. So I got this with the expectation that it'd be very, very, very peach forward. The reality is maybe not quite that, but we'll get into that here shortly. Definitely it's something that needs a good amount of agitation. So there is a lot of spiciness. I don't mean heat. I don't mean piquancy. I mean flavor spices. And there's just a lot going on here. A lot of, kind of like if you took a hot sauce, like a taco sauce almost, and then dumped a bunch of spices out of your spice cabinet into the sauce, is kind of what this reminds me of. I don't get a lot of peach out of it, which is, I think, probably the most frustrating thing for me. But it does look nice. It's a very nice looking color. Not the color I would expect from a fruit forward sweet hot, which I can't really say this is. But that's why I was hoping for anyway. But I don't know that it's quite there. So let's get into this a little bit more. Heat is very, oh my gosh, that is so many spices all at once. Wow. There's just really a lot going on here with the turmeric and coriander and the allspice. Just a lot of the spices Heat wise, it's pretty low. I give it a 1. It's not more than that. I do like the black pepper. That part's nice, but with mustard and everything else in there, it's just I don't know what we're doing here with this. So if we're saying, hey, let's make a fruit habanero sauce, I've done a lot of them, and the expectation is that the fruit is, when you're saying that the fruit is within the first 2 words of the name of the sauce, the expectation is that there's more of that flavor there, whereas this one has very little to none. It's so mystifying why this approach was chosen. And it's as kitchen sinky as you can imagine. One of the issues I have with that too is it's not sweet enough to be a sweet hot, but it's too sweet to be like a normal, quote unquote, normal sauce. So trying to find a place for this has been pretty challenging, honestly. So I've got here, this is just fish sticks, well, fish fillets. I made some of these last night. We'll just have these. This is probably the last hurrah for the sauce because I really am not enjoying this. I've gone through about half a bottle of it, and actually maybe even over, probably about 3/5 of the bottle actually. No, yeah, I'd say about, yeah, maybe 2/3. Let's call it 2/3. We'll call it 2/3 that I've gone through here, ish. No, maybe. Yeah, it's probably closer to half. But it's honestly just been a struggle because it's like I don't know what to do with it. There's just too many things in there, too many elements, too many flavors to try to pair with stuff. And fried foods is fine. It's a pretty neutral base. But I don't know where else I would go with this. And I tried to find pairing stuff online, and it's not there. Big city, big flavor, little dicks. I mean, so from that respect, if that's what they're trying to do, yes. There's a lot of flavors in one of these bottles. Now, do I think they all go together well? That is a way different question. And the answer is no, not for me, they don't. I mean, I think in a lot of respects, that's kind of the question. I guess if I do decide to design sauces ever, I'm going to start like I sometimes do with recipes and say, what am I trying to do here? What am I trying to get to? Conversely, I guess you could just keep throwing stuff together. I mean, sure, peach and habanero, just those two things might be a little boring, I guess, potentially. I've had some really good ones. They give this 4 out of 5 as far as spice. I don't think that means heat. It is very, very spicy, yes. Very hot, no. But I say, okay, well, a peach and habanero is boring. And a lot of different sauce makers have played around with different things to do with that. And this one is throw mustard in there, sure. And then coriander and a bunch of sweeteners. And allspice, that's fine. And black pepper, sure. But at some level, it's like, what are you trying to get to? Because you're literally just taking a handful of stuff and dropping on the table, and so you have a bunch of stuff scattered here and here and here and here, and that's kind of what this sauce feels like. It just feels unfocused. I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, I think it's perfectly edible. This is, I just don't get what we're doing here. Habanero and peach is the name of the sauce. Neither of those flavors is detectable here. And it gets really hard to do when you're socking it full of spices like that. Other than me tasting a spice cabinet. Which is... So I picked this up because I had never tried anything from Little Dick's. And I do, jocularity aside, as far as the name goes, I do like to try new stuff. You know, and there's a lot of people throw the FOMO thing out there, right? The whole fear of missing out. And I think to a degree it's true. Had I stayed where I was in the area around where I lived the early years of my life, I would never probably have tried sushi, for instance. But that is a lot to do. I would never have tried a lot of authentic Mexican or Honduran or El Salvadorian or any of those. Or even Italian. There was no authentic Italian place around where I was. You have to go to the larger cities to get that stuff, and it has a lot to do with economics. In a bigger city, the chances are good that you'll have more of a likelihood of finding the right audience. So when I see sauce makers I haven't tried anything from, I'm always interested to see what they have that I might enjoy. And I really don't ever seem to get enough. I never seem to have enough fruit-based sweet hots. Especially if they're good tasting, because I love those sauces so much. I happen to have... Usually I have the same problem with Louisiana style sauces. This year I didn't, but I bought probably 20 of them. Fruit-based sweet hots, maybe not quite that many, but probably pretty close. So this one, we have I think a pretty true kitchen sink approach here. And I'm probably honestly not the right audience for that type of thing, because one of my favorite foods is Japanese food, and there's a big approach there to try to get to purity of flavor, very clean flavors, and let them just kind of speak for themselves, sushi and some of the tempura and so on. Whereas this is just, it's so many things at once, and the spices are a little goes a long way with many of these, and it doesn't seem like there's little in there, even though they're dead last on the ingredient panel. They're just kind of coming to the fore, and so that's the big impression here, getting a sort of vague sweetness from the light brown sugar and the molasses, and then we're getting just a lot of those spices, and it's a bit on the rough side, I guess. For me, just I played around with this a lot, and it's not sweet enough for what I would consider a straightforward sweet hot, and it also has enough sweetness in there, like I said at the beginning, that it just kind of moves away from where I'd want like more of a straightforward maybe, for lack of a better word, traditional type hot sauce. So this one is just, I think in some respects, every ingredient after a certain point starts taking away from flexibility. And I think that actually is kind of what happened here. And there's, we saw the ingredient list. There's probably 15, 16, maybe 17 different ingredients in this, that's a lot for a 5 fluid ounce bottle of hot sauce. So, definitely didn't work out super well for me, I will say. But it was still kind of fun, as it always is, to try this. And, who knows, maybe something will come along from them in the future that is more suitable to my palate, and we'll just kind of leave it there. It's not a bad sauce, but if you don't like very complex flavors, and I don't know, I just don't know where you'd put this. I really wish when sauces like this come along that there was some tasting notes, to try to move it one direction or another, but we don't have that, so what do you got to do? But I think we're just going to leave it there. I am going to bin this at the conclusion of this video because I'm tired of playing with this, and there's other stuff I'm way more interested in getting to. It's one of those sauces that I would intentionally try to have to use it up, and I've done that a lot. But we're going to leave it right there. That was the Little Dick's Habanero Peach Hot Sauce. Now go forth in peace to serve the flame.